First of all, thank you for joining us and for having us today. We watched 3 of the episodes and really enjoyed them. And the other day, actually, it's funny that we got to do this interview today because the other day I was speaking to a group of African American, they're about 6th and 7th graders. And I was speaking to them about pop culture and geek culture and everything. And they really couldn't believe that there was a time when Black Panther wasn't a household name. So how does it feel for you all to know that one day kids won't be able to imagine a world without Iyanu?
I'm excited. I'm blessed that this is coming at this time because it's much needed. I've lived in America for over a decade and I have seen how Black kids question a lot of things, wonder about a lot of things, and their curiosity about who we are as a people, where we're from originally, the culture, the history, the authenticity and everything. So for me, Iyanu coming at this point represents a time where Black children can actually look at themselves and know that, they are worth it. They can be seen. They are in a world where this is possible. It's not just about fictitious worlds. It's not just about made up worlds. We do exist as a people. We have cultures as beautiful as they saw in Black Panther. We have community. We have costume. We have the look. We have our special dances and all of that. It is what we have in Africa. And it is beautiful that they get to see it where they are, because normally this kind of stories will be told for us at home. But the fact that they're all going to see it no matter where they are, is a beautiful thing for me. And that's what Iyanu is doing and representing for us. Yeah.
Indeed. I'm curious to see what everyone else thinks about that point. Yeah, please.
Very, very excited as well. Like I've said a couple of times, and I will keep shouting from the top of the rooftop, representation matters. And this is very important. The 12-year-old in me is completely freaked out. It's about time. It's been a long time coming. But I'm really excited that it's finally here. Like Stella said, authenticity matters. And the fact that we get to tell a story that's so deeply rooted in authenticity is very, very heartwarming for me. And to have that story be told by us as well with authentic accents, and you get to see the authentic costumes, and you get to see the authentic hairstyles, and you get to see different skin tones, and you see the palms of the hands are different, like just the little details and the big things as well that makes Iyanu so special. I'm really, really excited for the world and for Black kids to experience, because, the show touches on self-worth and self-awareness and empathy and love and so many things that are pertinent to human existence right now. I'm really, 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 I don't know if you can tell, I've said really.
Yes.
Really excited for everyone to see it.
No, this excitement is so exciting. I loved even just walking here, everyone just seemed brimming with energy. Serah, how did you think about this?
Well, I mean, I grew up watching cartoons, on Cartoon Network. And, I think it is such a dream. I am humbled, I am privileged, and I feel absolutely honored because I talk about cartoons, and how they impacted me when I was much younger, and Saturday mornings. And, we just knew that Saturday mornings were for cartoons. And, we got to explore all kinds of cartoons. But, now I get to see, I'm just thinking of the 8-year-old me, the 12-year-old me, even the 15-year-old me, who finally gets to see someone who looks like her on the screen, someone who speaks like her, someone who struggles with what she struggles with, and it's so surreal that I get to be part of that. It's surreal that I get to be a catalyst for that. And I think it's just an amazing feeling. And to know that Nigerian kids all over the world, Black kids all over the world get to see this side of Africa. They get to see this side of where they come from and know that it's not all just poverty when you think about Africa. There's wealth, there's culture, there's so much. There's so much talent, there's so much to see. It's not just what you've been told, you get to see it firsthand. And this has been made, I'm going to keep saying it, for us, by us, presented to us. And it's so exciting. And yeah, I'm so excited about it.
I'm going to step in, Kerri, before you answer, being that we are one of the writers and I'm listening to everyone's response. I wonder how much their experiences in life informed how you wrote this too, because and something you did, and I don't know if this was your line or what, but something you did with the Olori character. It sounds like every Nigerian parent I ever met. Every Nigerian parent. I grew up with Nigerian friends, and the level of reading that they do their children is epic. Like when Olori says, I wonder if the space between your ears is a tunnel, right? Or the forest animals do not care for the course of your name. Like that is legit, not legit Nigerian parents. So again, I'm just curious, was it your own personal experiences to help deliver that tone and cadence, or just everything that you've learned after you've met this cast?
Well, I got to give credit to Roy Okupe, the creator of Iyanu. He's the one who really kind of set the tone in terms of how the characters speak, their mannerisms, their expressions. He's a Nigerian man, so that is all credit to him. I'm not Nigerian, but I am Jamaican. And I feel like there's a lot of similarities in the way that we read each other or the way parents read their kids.
Yes.
So I was just like I'm in the diaspora, you know what I mean? And we're all from the same place. So that was just really natural to embody, my own parents and grandparents and ancestors when like writing dialogue, for instance. And like I said, we had the source material, which was so vast and so rich and really gave us everything we needed. And then, of course, infusing my own personal experiences. I was born in Jamaica, grew up in Jamaica until I was 11 years old. So, you know what I mean? Like that is just still in me in a very, it was my formative years, my formative experiences. And like everybody else here, like, grew up Saturday morning cartoons, watching Thundercats and He-Man and, Gem and the Holograms and all of that. So
Ben loves that.
And then to be able to write something. My very first show I worked on was The Backyardigans, which was also huge for representation. And, can't see a lot of people I've mentioned this to can't see a world without that. So I love this question and this idea that kids are going to see this and grow up and cannot imagine a world where Iyanu didn't exist. And not just Iyanu, but her friends, her family, all the characters. What I love is that you get to see all the aspects of humans, all aspects of humans and how humans show up in the world. And we're not one-dimensional. We're not a monolith. We encompass, so many things. And we get to see that with Iyanu.
Everything she said.
Yeah.
Just to contribute to what she said, it's like when I was talking about, being able to, me as a young child, looking back at that, I think about how years from now, people maybe my age at that time get to talk about how Iyanu impacted them. And, that is just mind-blowing. That is so mind-blowing. And someone who interviewed us earlier, he literally said, we're doing what Naruto did for the Japanese anime industry.
I see.
And that was so powerful because I never saw it like that. But I mean, looking at it, that's exactly what we're doing. And that is so amazing.
I agree.
Really quickly, one thing that I really appreciated about the show is the politics of Yoruba land, as they don't show like a perfect society. Because we often think, Africa, if we didn't have colonization, it'd be a paradise. But reality is everyone is human. So what led you to depict the world in this way?
Kerri, you want to go for that?
Yeah, I mean, again, credit to Roy Okupe, who created this world and wrote the graphic novel it's based on. But I don't want to speak for him, but I think that, like you said, we assume, if we didn't have colonization or whatever, it would be a paradise, it would be utopia, and that's just not the case. And I think one important reason to have representation is to depict people in their full humanity. And I think what you'll see a lot of, and that includes being, not everyone's a good guy. Some people are bad guys, but more likely it's somewhere in between. And there's, elements of good and elements of bad. And we get to, what I love about this too, is we really develop the characters in such a way that everyone goes through an arc that is really rings true to human experience, is recognizable. And there's some ambiguity along the way, you know what I mean? And I think that that's just multidimensional and that's just human. So that's something that I'm really grateful you know, I mean, like you said, all the politics, it's so familiar. It's like humans are going to human no matter where we are.
Of course, of course.
Straight up.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, no, we definitely appreciate talking with all of you. I mean, this is a really important project, and this is going to really make an impact on everyone, to be honest, kids, adults, everyone. It's already made a huge impact on me, and that Saturday morning vibe is there. So I'm happy it's debuting on a Saturday. So thank you all again. We really appreciate you, and we hope to talk to you again.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Kerri, real quick, I see that Emmy back there, and thank you for that too, because that representation is needed. Stunt on them, keep that up there.
Closer to the camera.
Yeah, put that up so people can really know what that is.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Enjoy
Thank you so much. I know you listen to the show, you watching the show, you're enjoying the show, you loving For All Nerds. So why haven't you told your friends about it? Why haven't you told your fam about it? Why haven't you told your foes about it? Let them know about For All Nerds. And while you're at it, make sure you hit those subscribe buttons on YouTube, because you're watching us right now. You're seeing our beautiful melanated faces. You're loving all of this gloriousness right now. So stop watching and lurking. Hit the subscribe button. Follow. Join the fam. We love you for it. Thank you so much for all the support. Boom.
Thank you so much, Brandon, Kerri, Paula, for speaking with me today. I'm actually going to jump in. This is a question that Kerri may be familiar with. I actually asked this to the voice cast. My media partner, he is a writer. He was actually speaking with a group of sixth graders, and they couldn't believe there was a time where Black Panther wasn't a household name. So I'm curious as to, as I'm seeing Iyanu and how far this is going to go, how do you feel that there's going to be a point where kids are not going to be able to imagine a world without Iyanu?
One can only hope.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
This was a show. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Vincent.
I was just going to quip, but I'd say if this show gains the kind of traction and the kind of notoriety that we would hope it gets, then I think it'll speak to a lot of different people on a lot of different levels, and I would like it to become kind of a cultural phenomenon, like a few other projects that I can't name. But you know, that happens with media, with content. You know, if you strike the right nerve in the zeitgeist of the flow of history, it could be a flashpoint, which would be awesome.
I see. And Paula, you had a comment?
Well, this is part of the reason I was excited to work on this, was it was the kind of show that I wished I'd had as a child. So
yes,
I hope that other, especially brown and Black kids, will be like, yeah, this is mine now. Because once a group of children takes ownership of something cultural like this, it will have life forever, because then it becomes something they share with their children and something that they share with their children, et cetera, and so forth. So you hope it takes that kind of hold.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, particularly to Brandon and Kerri, when you're talking about the task of translating from graphic novel to animated series, obviously different mediums, you have different tools you can use, different ways to go about showing a story. Did you have any trepidations or challenges when it came to being true to the source material, or knowing when it's okay to make adjustments?
Brandon, I'll let you speak to this first.
So yeah, I was hired to originally take portions of volume 1 and turn that into the pilots, which is episodes 101 and 102. And with all adaptation projects, it's never a one-to-one translation or adaptation. So I just tried to figure out the parts of the story that would resonate most immediately with viewers who have never read the graphic novels or the comics. I mean, you see this with stuff like Dune. You see this with stuff like, you know, Little Shop. I mean, there's so many great adaptations out there from previously existing materials, particularly like Stephen King novels and so forth and so on. I think with Iyanu, Roy Okupe and Godwin Akpan, who were the creators of the Volume 1, they had such a lavish and brilliantly paced story. It lent itself to visual storytelling in a way that a lot of stuff that's come across my desk did not. It was paced very well. And pacing is something that's vastly underrated in storytelling. And so I just tried to find the things in the first 2 episodes that would immediately grab people, but also reflect the lore that Roy had created. And that was really the challenge. But it was beautiful because it was easy, because so much was emotionally bullet pointed already that it was just a matter of executing.
I see. Kerri, did you have anything to add there?
I just think that what the world that existed in the graphic novels was so rich. I had previously come off Ada Twist Scientist, which is also adapting a series of books into a show, and that was a little bit different because it was picture books, which has a lot less, to kind of work with in creating the final series or the final product. But it's similar in the sense that people love the books, and you want to maintain like a really like a strong connection to spirit of the book that already exists. And then also we worked really closely together in the writer's room to kind of lay out what needed to happen, throughout the course of the season, the arcs that various characters had to fulfill along their journeys. And I was just really happy that we had the source material to look at. Like it's just beautiful, rich, and vast. And like Brandon said, a lot of it was figuring out like what to keep in, what to leave out to be the most emotionally resonant in the amount of time that we have to show this on screen, and then to service the characters that we have to service. So I hope that answers your question. I feel like I went on.
It does. No, that does. And it makes me think just about having this so close to heart and being very deep into the source material, as well as trying to make a new wave into the animation perspective. I'm curious if any of these characters really started kind of imprinting themselves onto you. Like if there was a character that you like, this is my heart, I love this character. And this is really a question for everyone here. Was there any particular character, or even a that you can speak of, a scene or something that really stuck with you as you were developing it?
Yeah, I can't talk about it.
It's too early now. Okay. Or it could be Iyanu herself. It's just
I love Iyanu herself. I really relate that she resonates with me because the young girl trying to figure out her place in the world, she's awakening to all of this information that she's learning about herself, her past. She feels like an other, like an outsider in some way. I mean, I'm Jamaican. I moved to America when I was 11. So that feeling of being an outsider is something that I still carry with me. I feel like I became a writer, and so I really relate to her and her journey. But I think what's cool about these characters too is that there are elements of each character that we can, I think, see in ourselves. Like Toye is really the super bookish guy, and B's a little bit more of a smart ass. And I love that they're so built out that you can see elements of stuff in each of them.
Absolutely. And this was very giving me Saturday morning cartoon happiness and vibes, because I was like, this is absolutely something that I watch. It's something I watch now. I watch cartoons now to this day. And it's just something where the characters were lovable, they were relatable, and I was able to connect with them very quickly. Yes, it helped that they were the same skin tone as me, but even so, just from a humanistic perspective, it was just so refreshing to be able to jump into this project, and everything looked really good. And you mentioning, Kerri, that you're Jamaican, it reminds me of just the diaspora overall, right? Like how, even though this is a Yoruba focused Nigerian story, that it touches the entire diaspora, right? And I'm African American, and it touches and informs some of my experience, the experience of growing up with other Nigerians, things like that. So being that you have all of this rich history under it, then to be able to see that this is funded by a Black company, right? It's partially funded by Lion Forge. And maybe this is, Vincent, you can talk to this. Like, this makes this a very for us, by us endeavor. So, could you talk a little bit more about how that partnership, like, just further informed how you manage this whole project?
Yeah, actually, that's a conversation that's a little bit above my pay grade, but I was instantly in admiration of the level of commitment that not only financially, but in terms of adhering to the idea of authenticity and trying something really ambitious from a Black-owned company.
Yeah,
really wanting to like walk their talk, because a lot of people talk about diversity and inclusion, and authenticity, and all that stuff, but nobody ever really owns it 100%. Very rarely do you see someone that's really, doing that. And so for me, it was tremendously inspiring to see a company that says, no, we're going to do this, right? And they brought me in because I do this, and I was happy to jump on.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, that really made me happy to hear. And, I love the Lion Forge projects in general. So this was really good that they were able to bring this about. And then, Paula, this question is really centered to you just when we talk about the voice acting and the casting process. And, there's always changes and different ideas and different paths that you take from where you started till now. As you were, and can you just tell me more about that process of casting? And as you were doing that, were there any big surprises, from what you originally thought to what you ended up with, the incredible voice cast you had?
Well, the process was long and arduous. It was not arduous. It's actually a lot of fun.
Excellent.
And it was fun because I was being introduced to so many artists that I probably wouldn't have worked with otherwise. So we received about 1,600 auditions, and it was about an 8-month process. And the biggest thing was maintaining the level of Nigerian authenticity that Roy wanted. And he was very clear about what he wanted to hear. I was the performance arbiter, but he was the accent vocal choice arbiter. So we had a tag team role with each other, and I would bring a series of auditions to him and say, I really like what they're doing with the character work here. And he would say, yes, this is East African, this is South African, this is, and so, so I learned over time how to recognize the sound he was looking for. And it was a matter of building out the tapestry of the world to make it feel as authentic and varied as possible. I hope I'm answering your question.
You are. No, this is great. And I saw Vincent laugh when you mentioned South African, East African. Was there something that happened at that point?
No, just that's been a recurring theme today. That but Roy's like, no, this needs to be not just Nigerian, but Yoruba Nigerian, right?
I see. Yes, very particular.
I wouldn't know the difference between Ethiopian and Nigerian, but
no, he was very specific. And then as far as the working with the cast in the actual recording process, there were lots of times when I would say, what would you say? What would you say at this moment? And so there was a lot of just Yoruba slang and Igbo tossed in. And then we used to do what I jokingly called the American read. I would say, do the American read, and then say it how you would say it. Say if you were just on the street, what would you do with this? And because there's these subtle things where the emphasis is just on slightly different syllables, you know what I mean? That make it.
I love how you did that.
That make a huge difference to how a world sounds. And so during that first 4 episodes, especially for me, it was a bit of a learning process of balancing the authenticity of how people speak with what I knew a North American audience could understand when hearing it. And so I was always weighing that. And Roy and I would have quite long discussions sometimes about how far do we want to push this? How Nigerian can we make this?
Yeah. And you want to make a certain group of people happy, right? Especially you're going to say, oh, these are Nigerian Yoruba characters. Are they truly that, right? And then at the same time trying to, hey, can this person from middle of America understand what they're talking about? Exactly. Absolutely. I get it. And Brandon and Kerri, were you, and Paula, please, to the three of you, were you involved with each other when it came to writing or rewriting or even changing tones of certain things the characters were saying based on the voice actor? Because, for example, I know in a lot of animation, and again, this is from the drawing perspective of animation, they'll maybe adjust how a character looks to further match the voice actor. Were there any changes or adjustments made from the writing perspective? Or was it like you guys already had the dialogue and then the voice cast just went with it?
We had the initial draft, and then we would do what we called a Roy draft, which he would put in the slang and intonations. Then we would do a comedy draft, which one of our writers, Ivory Floyd, was really good at comedy, which I'm not a comedian. I'm not really good at that type of. I can write funny scenes, but I'm not like funny. You know what I mean? Not intentionally. People laugh at me all the time, but not on purpose. You know. But the trick is that we did have different drafts, but it didn't really go through what I would say would be like a voice. Like it was like a reformatting of scripts for voice. But I always felt like once it gets to that level, you let the voice folk do their job. And since it was like 1 a.m. Pacific time, a lot of the times I would be worthless in a recording session. And a few times I tried to show up at 3 a.m., I'd be like, oh, well, yeah, it was good, you know. So the trick is that I had utmost faith in Paula and Roy being in the voice sessions because he's in Maryland, I'm in California, 3,000 miles more, and that's what 3 more hours more. So like like as Vincent always says, we were in 5 time zones globally.
Oh,
so
wow.
You had to absolutely trust and respect are flip sides of the same coin. I respected and I trusted everybody I worked with. There wasn't a point in time where I was afraid of letting go of script. You know, and that's something that where sometimes people get too precious about their scripts. I was not that. I knew that Kerri, Ivory, Matt, and Roy could execute. And part of being a head writer is not stepping on anybody's shoulders or neck. You let those people run because they're that good. And all the folks, everybody in this call was that good and beyond, you know.
Yeah. I know that Emmy's saying the same thing in the background of Kerri's video. I am that good. No, I think that's excellent. And you said so the entire production you guys were doing across 5 time zones?
Yeah, because I'm in Portugal, but I was directing the cast in Nigeria, and then so
our art directors in Nigeria, and our showrunners and our show creators in Maryland, and we had a studio in Atlanta, and in the corporate home office in St. Louis, and then we're on PSG, and then we have a Korean studio that's on tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
The writers in LA. So we cover all the time zones.
And the actors were all over the world. So scheduling the sessions was always really interesting, where I was like, okay, it's 4 a.m. in Ottawa and 9 a.m. in here and 9 a.m. for me. Or 9 p.m. for me. So it was always a lot of negotiation.
That's a good level of faith and understanding too, and respect. I would say the utmost respect for everyone that you work with to be able to, with those hurdles, to be able to come out with what you did, which is really a beautiful animated series. And, you know, I do hope that enough people watch this where they're just going to be in shock. And I really can't wait till they hear this part saying that you guys were all over the world doing this. I mean, this is truly, quite literally, it's like a diasporic endeavor, this whole thing. I really love that. You know, considering everything that you've all have been working on with this, what ultimate lessons did you learn, whether about yourself or about your craft?
The power of collaboration. I think I've worked on a lot of shows, usually sort of as, you know, the voice director, you're kind of a cog in the wheel. And with this show, I was allowed to take a level of ownership that I'm not always when you're a gun for hire. So being able to send off the prelay and then get notes back about character changes and how sections were going to be shifted or rearranged, or like that kind of malleable process was a joy. And the fact that everyone was kind of always firing on all cylinders and having a blast doing it that's not always how it goes. So I was really pleased with the process in general.
Totally. Yeah, we had to build an amazing team from everywhere. But what's the saying? Hire the right person for the job and then let them do it.
Absolutely.
Like the big reward was being able to say, these are the people we need for this, and this. They're the best people for this, and we should get them. And then once we got them, I said, I didn't micromanage them. I said, here's the idea. Will you own this and make it rock? And everyone came with that 100%, like, yeah, I get it. I'm on it. And they brought their A game. And that esprit de corps has been so high across 5 time zones for a couple of years. But, you know, the proof's in the pudding, you know?
Indeed. Kerri, Brandon, any lessons you learned of yourself or your craft?
I mean, Paula kind of stole part of my answer. Okay. Collaboration was hugely important. I mean, it's what you do when you work on any series, and you know, the value of the writer's room is just can't be overstated. The value of that, having your fellow collaborators, it just makes it better. You know what I mean? It just, that group brain just makes it better. But one thing I learned was, I could write fight scenes. Like, that's not something that I do regularly, and it was really fun and surprising to me. Even though ultimately that's the storyboard artist and the directors kind of like that's their thing.
Yes,
but to just take a first stab at like how this could be choreographed, even though ultimately it's up to the artist to kind of take that in whatever direction they want to take it. But that was really fun.
That's awesome. Brandon, I got to ask you, what is your take? What did you take away from this?
Well, I'm going to be very candid, and I'll say this. Being a large Black male as a writer in Los Angeles, things do not fall in your favor quite often. And there is a kind of, what I've learned is that the true commodity in this town is the benefit of the doubt. And when you're a large Black man, you do not get that very often or at all. And unfortunately, I started to internalize some of that because I was surrounded by it. It was almost like a mitosis of negativity, right? And doing this project taught me how to regain, and this is a good thing sometimes, a little bit of the ego and a little bit of the arrogance that you need as kind of a suit of armor. And I don't mean it in a narcissistic way,
right?
But I went through some very harrowing things in this town. But there's definitely a lack of respect if you're large and Black and male, whether it's body shaming, whether it's just skin color, all that kind of stuff, it plays into it. And you have to really be careful not to swallow that pill and let it grow inside of you like a virus. And it took me quite some time, because this is nothing anybody prepares you for. There is no roadmap for anti-Blackness and how to circumvent anti-Blackness in this industry. And I'm from Baltimore, originally Maryland. I don't play games with people, and I'm not into the political games of Hollywood. I'm just not. And that has hurt me. And it took me a little while to realize that it wasn't me that was broken. It was the environment that was sick, to quote Dave Chappelle. Oh. And it took me a little while to realize I didn't do anything wrong. There's not a single person in this town, and I can say this with a clear conscience, that can say I did anything wrong to them, that I mistreated them, that I've done anything wrong anywhere. But I was always treated as if though I had done something wrong. And I realized it was just my existence that was the problem for these people, right? So working on Iyanu, and there were 2 times in my entire writing career I felt valued as a human being. One was at Blizzard Entertainment, and 2 was on Iyanu. That's it. And I've worked on a lot of stuff, but those were the 2 times I ever felt valued as a human being, when nobody cared how much I weighed or what my skin tone is. I'm not even the darkest cat in the world, but I was treated like, horribly, And it wasn't just by white folk. You understand? It wasn't just by white folk. Black folk and other folk had their hand in it too. So it took me a little while to grow out of that. And this show was, I guess, the final step in my personal act of self-love. And that was something that I learned. And so that's what this show means to me. And I don't mean to get too deep, but literally this is what it means to me, because it showed me that I was capable, that it was no imposter syndrome at play, that I belonged here in this town and in this business. So that's what I got from this show, straight up.
Absolutely. Thank you all. You all belong. And I definitely appreciate this project. I can't wait to see the rest of the series. Thank you, Vincent, Kerri, Brandon, Paula. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Hey, what's up, internets and the fan fam? This is Tatiana King for For All Nerds, and I want to thank you so much for listening and watching the For All Nerds. Make sure you like and subscribe to us only on YouTube.
For All Nerds Show is a member of the Loudspeakers Network, where we always say rest in peace to our founder, Combat Jack.
For All Nerds Show is powered by our listeners. Everything we do, from our podcasts, live events, our website, are all independently funded. Please continue to support us through our Patreon page at patreon.com/forallnerds.